Hi everybody, it's Miss Mary from Gander Studio, and this video is a tutorial on how to paint your latest art kit that you are getting from Grace Church. You are going to be receiving, when you get the kit, you will have instructions in there. But I thought it might make things easier if you also had a video tutorial on how I painted this when I designed it. So the first thing I want you to do is work with your parents or a grown-up that you're working with. Make sure that you have a space where you can paint and get messy. I've already started painting and I'm already messy, and I've got a little bit of mess here. So I suggest you find some place where you can put down some a plastic cloth, some newspaper, something like that. Make sure that the area you're painting in, that you have permission to paint in, and then you want to set up all your tools. So what I have here today, of course, is the block. I've already painted this block. Yours is going to come unpainted. I'll talk to you a little bit about that. You should have these little cutout pieces. You should have Grace Church, the front door to Grace Church. This is a little window, so you should have those three little cutouts. And then the word Grace comes in two pieces. You have a capital G, and then you have the R-A-C-E for Grace. You also will have a little bitty container of something that's clear and it moves kind of slowly. That's your glue. You'll have a Q-tip. That was going to be what we're going to use to adhere the glue. You have some red and brown paint. You have some blue paint. You have two sponges that you're going to paint with. And you have this sponge brush with a handle you're going to paint with. And you also have a little container of white and black. For the tutorial, I have gone ahead and put them in my paint pans. You don't have to do that. You can paint with them straight out of the container they came in. I just happen to do that because I like to work with these pie pans. Get some water. I just keep it in an old plastic tub, you know, whatever your parents say you can use. And then I like to have, you can have some wipes on hand if you like. I like to just tear up old t-shirts and use those, but I suggest you get a paint rag. So like I said, you can tell I'm a messy painter and I've already started on this. So what I did first was, yeah, I think I'll still use it. So what I did first was I painted my block black, and I went after it with a blow dryer. Now you'll notice that I wasn't real concerned about getting it 100% painted. This is a kind of a rustic look for this, kind of an old-fashioned look. And the way you do that is you don't get 100% coverage everywhere. Now, where I didn't get 100% coverage in black, now I'm gonna come back over it in white. So after we've done all that work, you come back and you can see I'm just lightly going over, and I want some of that black to be coming through. So that's the rustic look we're going for here. So that side right there is done. I'm gonna come up here to the top, and I'm not even reloading because I know there's plenty of paint in my sponge brush. It never takes a lot of paint to cover one of these. It takes a lot less than you think it does. Get this over here so you can see me painting it. And I always like to say, I like to go on with very light layers. You can always add more paint, but it's kind of hard to take away. I like to do light layers and kind of build up. Sometimes, and they dry really fast when you do light layers. Sometimes I like to do 2 or 3 layers on something, and you can't do that if you use a whole lot of paint. You have to go very lightly. So now we're almost done with this. Now I think I will add just a little bit more here. I do want to make sure I don't see any bare wood coming through. So where I didn't cover completely with black, I am making sure that I go back over it with a white and get that. on this side. Now, if you want to, you can now wait for this to dry and you could do your bottom, but it's the bottom and I'm not real concerned about getting the white on there right now. For a completely finished look, you might want to do that, but it's black. It's got a little bit of that white because, again, I'm a messy painter and it picked some of that up, but it's really okay. You can always go back and do that at the end. So now I'm just going to dry one side. I'm going to decide which side is my front. I think I know. Yeah. So this one I think will be my front of my painting, and this will be the back. And I want to lay it down so I can start to do the other parts. So I'm going to blow dry just a little bit. Yeah, just a real quick blow dry. And now I'm going to set this aside for a few minutes. And maybe not block right there. So there we go, always messy. Wipe my fingers off a little bit. That way this white paint won't go somewhere I don't want it to go. So then the first thing I want you to do is get your little church out in front of you. And you're going to paint your church brown. So you have these little tubs, these little plastic tubs. This is plenty of paint to do this project and do several more. So you've got some extra paint. So maybe you'll find something fun to do with the extra paint. You have plenty. This is probably all it's gonna take to do the church. This is a little makeup sponge, so it's a wedge. You use the fatter end to do your church. So set your church in front of you. Don't have it somewhere where you have to lean over anything else. Always have whatever you're working on right in front of you, front and center. So now I'm going to I just noticed I've got some paper on here that didn't get peeled. So I'm going to do that. We'll make sure that you don't have that happen. But this goes into the machine to be cut. It has this paper backing. Can you go grab me a chart? Well, never mind. You know what? I'll just turn it over and do the other side. You guys won't have to worry about that. So I'm going to come over your church just like this with the sponge. You see why you need to have your table protected, right? You're just going to paint just like this. Only dab up and down. Don't sponge back and forth. I just want you to use an up and down tapping motion. That's going to get you the very best result on the church if you do that. Okay, I like that. I think that's pretty good coverage. You might look at yours and say, it might need a little bit more paint. If you think it does, I don't want you to put it on right now. You don't want to put some wet paint on top of wet paint. You want to let that dry a little bit. So just set that off to the side. And this is your front door. So find a little spot right in front of you. And this time we can take the back of this makeup sponge and dip it down here in the red paint and dab that red paint on. Just like that. Now, if you have a paintbrush at home and you would rather use a paintbrush, you can certainly do that. If you came to Gander Studio and painted with me, we use these quite a bit on little projects like this. Okay, so now the door is done. And now I'm gonna put Grace in front of me. I'm gonna pick my sponge back up and grab a little bit more of that brown paint. When I'm putting it in here and dabbing it, I'm also kind of brushing off some of it. So I'm doing this several times because this is a sponge and it's loading up that paint. So every time I press, a little bit more paint's coming out. But I don't want a great big glob, hopefully you can see that, like that, because that's gonna be too much paint. Okay, so now I've got it on here and I'm ready to come over here on my letters and just dab, dab, dab there on my G. And put that to the side. And then I think it's going to be helpful if I just turn this way. Turn it whatever way you like. It does not matter at all. Okay, done. So now the word grace is painted. We have one more thing we're going to paint. Open up this bright blue. And this represents our communion window that's over the altar. It is, we took creative license with that. It of course is not the same shape, but it is going to be in relatively the same place. So it's really just kind of a representation of that window. A lot of times that's what artists will do. They'll use something as their inspiration, but they don't always try to get something that looks like a photographic image of what they are looking at. They take creative license and they change it up a little bit. Okay, so now, believe it or not, we are done with the paint, and I've got all that paint left over. So I want you guys to find something fun to paint and see, see what your parents say. If they say, we're not gonna paint anymore, you can always ask them if they'll let you come over here and I'll have something for you to paint. Okay. All this place where I made a mess is dry, and the back of this is dry. So I'm gonna put this here. I see shine on here, which means that my block is not completely dry. So I'm gonna put this on low. I'm gonna dry it just a little bit more. Now you're doing this at home and you're not trying to rush through a video, so you can always put it aside and come back like 10 minutes later. What you're looking for is to not see any shine on there. When you just see flat white paint, that means it's dry. Mine just needs a teeny bit more. I don't want to put glue on top of wet paint, so that's dry now. Again, I used a really light coat, so it didn't take much at all to get that to dry. I'm gonna stand for this part. And I'm just gonna eyeball this. Can you just see down on the project? I'm asking my producer if we can see just down here where we're working. Okay, I'm gonna eyeball this, and I've done a couple of these, so I know about where I want it to go. I want the name to be above the church, but I wonder if you had yours, if you wanted to put the name below. I think that looks nice too. The way I designed it is for the name to go above it. To me, that's what looks right. But if you think your name should go under there, the grace should be on the bottom, there's nothing wrong with that. You could do that. But I'm gonna put this one down here and the name up here. And I'm gonna move the G and the R really close together, I think, when I do this. So I like that. The window's going to go here and the door's going to go here. So now I'm gonna pull the door and the window off. I'm gonna get my Q-tip, get some glue. This is Gorilla Glue, if anybody needs to know that. And I'm gonna come back here on the back and I'm just going to dab. Try not to go outside your lines very much. It is clear, so you're not gonna see. It's gonna dry, of course, clear. So it's not a problem if you go too far out of the lines, but you don't really wanna do that. Try not to, because it might be a little shiny. Okay, now I'm just gonna look and eyeball it. I know I'm a pretty good eyeballer. Yep, I've got it right there in the center. If you don't feel like you're a good eyeballer, all you have to do is get a ruler and decide where the center is and make sure you put the cross in the center of your board. And boom, you've got it. Now I'm making sure, I looked down to make sure I didn't have paint on my hands. Well, I didn't make sure because there it is, paint right there. So I'm gonna go over that just a hair. I'm trying to hurry through this for you guys, but what I should have done is gone and washed my hands before I did this. That way I won't get any of this white or this black in some place where I don't want it. So I'll just have to be a little bit more careful. I think I'm gonna go with the window next. Using that same side because I don't have, it's not too messy. I'm gonna grab a little bit more of the glue and I'm gonna drop it right there. So the window goes right there. And the door pops in this little opening. Grab a little bit more glue and just drop it in. I'm going to use my rag to kind of press down here. Since my hands are messy, you can certainly use your hands if you washed your hands. But since I did not wash my hands, that's what I'll do. Okay, now I think that's getting just a little bit raggedy. So I'm going to turn it over and use the other side to do this. I'm going to leave those letters right where they are. Now I'm going to pick up the G and get paint on the back of the G and then place it right there. And I'm going to get the rest of my letters. Whoops. Be careful that you don't have glue fly around like I did. That was a little too much glue, so I'm just going to even that out there. Set that down, and now I've got the rest of the name there. And now you have this really sweet Easter project of our church, of Grace Church. I hope you all like this, and I hope you find this fun to put together. We want you to finish this. This will be in your instructions, but we want you to bring these all to the church so that on Easter we can all see your art projects, and we're going to line them all up and we're going to have a little display of them. But just be something to bring us a little bit more joy on Easter Sunday. I look forward to seeing you all. I look forward to seeing all of your finished projects. Hopefully you'll have time to get yours done before Easter Sunday, and you can bring it up to the church to be on display. I enjoy putting these together for you. If you have any questions whatsoever, please give me a call. My number will be on your instructions, and hopefully between this tutorial and the written instructions, you'll be able to figure out any questions you might have that come up. But if not, I want you to give me a call. I'll be more than happy to walk you through anything on this. So, all right, there you go. I hope you guys like it. See you soon. Bye.